Hi, today I'm going to show you how to draw a honeybee. Honeybees are what we find outside in nature starting this time of year, and we are going to be drawing ourselves a close-up version of a honeybee, and you can see that the honeybee will be on some kind of a flower. So this is the center of the flower and the petals, and we will create that part last, but first we're going to make the honeybee. So first things first, you need a blank piece of paper. You're going to put your name on the paper, and you're going to put your class on the paper. Then you're going to flip it over. Okay, and we are going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do at the top of our paper, we're going to make a guide to make it easy to have a good sized bee on our paper, so our bee is not this teeny tiny on our giant piece of paper. So set your hand at the top of your paper, and where your thumb is, my hand's bigger than yours, so you need to open your fingers up a little bit more. Where the bottom of your thumb is, you're going to draw a little mark. Now really open your hand up, but here's about mine. So I'm going to put a little tiny line. Then at the bottom of my paper, I'm going to do the same. For me, I'm going to keep my hand closed, but you could open yours up a tiny little bit. But I don't want it to be, this is going to be our body, so I don't want it to be too small. So I'm going to make a mark about here. Okay? So it's a little bit lower than the center of your paper. So we are going to turn this into kind of like a raindrop shape. It's kind of like a letter U at the top and a V at the bottom. So we're going to start with a U shape and bring it down into kind of like a V shape. But if it doesn't touch your lines, you can use one of the good erasers and erase your little lines you got left over. Okay, so this is the shape of our body. Then above it, we're going to draw the thorax. So we're just going to put at the top of our rainbow shape, we're going to put a circle like that. Yours might be a little bigger, a little smaller, that's okay. Next, we're going to add 2 lines, one to each side, and these lines are going to help fill out the thorax shape. So draw 2 lines. Next, we're going to draw the head, and the head is on top of the circle, and it's pretty much like a jelly bean that sticks out a little bit. So here's my kind of jelly bean shape. Okay. Next, we're going to make 2 eyes. Our eyes are going to be on each side of our jelly bean, and they're going to be kind of large circle shapes. You want them to try to touch the top and the bottom of your jelly bean shape. And normally we do not color with a pencil, but this project today we're only doing with pencil. So I'm going to color these in. And I like to make circles until I get all the way in, but that's your choice. Your goal is to take a few seconds here and color in both your eyeballs. So now I'm going to do this eye. And if you have a hard time doing that little circle shape, that's okay. Your goal is just to fill it in. Get both our eyes filled in. Remember, if you are not on the same step I am, and you are a little bit behind, don't panic. We can pause the video, and you can have a extra time to catch up. Okay, next we're going to make the antenna, and it's pretty much like a tall letter V. So yours could be very V-like or kind of like an angled V. What's important then is it touches your head. You just need to draw 2 antennae. Okay, next we're going to draw the legs. We need 6 legs on a honeybee, and they're all going to connect through the thorax. So I'm going to show you how I make the legs. I make little oval shapes. So you're going to follow along and put your legs in similar spots to my legs. So I'm going to draw a kind of ovally shape about like this, and they don't have to be perfect. And notice I'm using my pencil to color them in, something we normally do not do. Now if yours is taller, shorter, longer, more down, more up, that's okay, because if your bee is scooting around and moving, it's not going to have the same shape. I'm going to draw another one up here and color that one in. So kind of little ovally hot doggy shapes. And then I'm going to put a little foot out there at the end. So now we have one done. We're going to do a similar one over here. So I need 3 sections. I'm going to do a tall one, my first one. I'm going to do my second one, and they can be going in any direction. It's okay if they're not following the same placement as mine. And then my little foot sticking out. Now what you're going to notice about doing this is it's probably going to dull our pencils quite a bit because we're coloring with a pencil, and that's okay. All right, so we only have 2 feet. We need 4 more. So we're going to do it again. And this one, I kind of like to connect it where the brown part of the thorax and the line of the thorax meet. If yours doesn't connect in the same place, that's okay. Okay, there's my first section. The second section, how about I make it going out this way? Okay. And then my little foot. So far I've got 1, 2, 3. I need at least 3 more. I'm going to make a matching one over here, about the same place across there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Note that this arm looks a little bigger than the other leg. That's okay. All right, another little section up here. And then my little foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. We need 2 more. These ones I kind of like to aim downward, like maybe he's headed somewhere. And again, it's connected to that line of the thorax. So I'm going to make 1, color it on in. And if you just drew these and haven't had a chance to color them in yet, that's okay too. We've got plenty of time to get all that done. There's 2. And how about my third little guy there? And I'm going to do the same thing across the street here. So 1, angle him down a little bit, like maybe he's crawling around on that flower. 2 and 3. Okay, so far we have our body, our thorax section, and our head, our eyes, our antenna, and 6 legs on a bee. So next we're going to make the wings. The wings are pretty large on our bee, and we want them to connect at the thorax, kind of in this triangle-y section we've got going. And we want them to kind of look almost like a bunny ear, where the pointy part of the bunny ear is going to be at the bottom. So I'm going to start where the circle of my thorax and the line of my thorax meet. And I'm going to draw right over top of my bee leg, and I'm going to come down almost to the bottom, about the same length, but then I'm going to start back up here, and I'm going to make a curved line to meet to it. So if you look at that shape, it's a lot like a bunny ear, a pointy bunny ear. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I could start up here. I think I'll try that again. And I'm going to curve down. And think about where this one ends, about there. I'm going to go back to the edge of my thorax where it meets my body and make another curved line down. So I've got 2 curved shaped wings, and the bee's wings are see-through, so we are not erasing these lines. If it was not see-through, we would use an eraser and we would erase all these, but we're going to keep them there. So next we're going to make a pattern of fuzz all over the abdomen and the head of our bee, and all it is a little tiny circular shape. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to start near my antenna, and I'm going to make a little tiny curving circular pattern. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to pick it up for you. See if you can see that. almost like an upside down letter E, letter E, letter E, okay? And I'm just going to keep doing this until I reach down at the curve of my head. So I'm going to do this all the way on one side. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. If this is a little tricky for you, it's okay. You're just making a textury pattern to make it look like there's some fuzz on your bee. So we've done around the edge of the head. We're going to do inside of the body here, kind of connecting what we were doing, but just following the line of our body. So it almost goes all the way around the head there. And then also we wanted to connect around the curved part and the line part of our thorax. So I'm going to draw right over top of my legs, and I'm going to follow down the line of my thorax till it dead ends. I'm going to do that on both sides. Give yourself time to draw this line. I'm going to go on the inside of my thorax also, the rounded part. So we added fur texture pattern around the head, around the entire circle of the thorax, and around the lines of the thorax. Next, we're going to draw the bee lines that you think of when you see like a yellow and black bee. And we're going to make a shape similar to an upside down rainbow, a curved line like a cereal bowl, like a smiley face. And we're going to draw this inside that very first shape we drew of the body. I'm going to draw right over top of my wing lines. Yours could be smaller or wider apart. That's your choice. I kind of tried to make mine even going down. Okay. And then once we have them drawn, we're going to skip. Let's see, how many did I end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. You might have more or less, and that's your choice. We're going to color these in. We're going to shade them in. So I'm actually going to turn my bee sideways because it's easier for me to do this. That is totally your choice, whether you turn yours sideways. I'm going to skip the first section, and I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm going to start coloring this in. Now what I want you to think about, instead of holding your pencil straight up and down, if it's on an angle, you're going to use that lead to kind of rub back and forth to color this in. It might be a little easier for you. When you are doing this, you're trying to stay in the lines. And what you might notice, my favorite thing about using the side of my pencil to color something in, I'm going to skip a section, do my next one, is that your pencil kind of ends up resharpening itself because you're using the side of the pencil. And notice where my eraser of my pencil is. It's way up in the edge of my hand here, and I'm holding it way up here instead of way down here. That makes using the side of your pencil a lot easier to shade, to color something in. Now you can try this. If you have a hard time with that, you can hold it like normal. It just takes a lot more to shade than putting that right down in the little nook of your hand and going back and forth. I use my extra finger over here as a guide. You can hear it kind of tapping against it so I don't go out of the lines. And then I'm going to shade, I'm going to skip a section, and I'm going to shade my last section. So your goal is to shade every other section. Now if you have more sections, you might have to color in more of these. And if you don't get done with this step and I move on, don't panic. You can do that step later. Okay, so you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 sections shaded. If I have little baby white spots, I can go back in and re-shade those. What you're going to notice I'm not doing is pressing like this really hard. It's look how light versus hard, and it uses a lot of your lead. So you might not want to press that hard. Okay, next we're going to shade the head and the thorax. So our head up here, we're going to do the exact same thing. I think I'm going to turn it this way. You can turn it any way you want. And I'm going to pencil in the inside of my little spot of my hand there, and I'm just going to lightly color. Now when I color this in, if I notice that my eyes and my head are the same color, I don't want that. I might have to go back and press a little harder and make my eyes darker. I do not want my eyes and my head the same color. Now if you've made your head too dark, you can use an eraser, erase it out, and recolor it in lighter. That would work. Okay. We just want it colored in nice and light. So we're seeing different shades of pencil color happening. Next, we're going to shade in the circle of our body, and my goal is to leave a little white spot in the middle. So what I like to do, I'm going to shade lightly. Now you have some choices. You can turn your paper because I'm trying to make a circular shape. And this might be hard to make a circle while shading. So you could turn your paper as you're going to try to see how I'm trying to make it like a circle around the edge. Okay, or you can use your pencil and start making a circly shape. Sometimes this is kind of hard to get it circly. Mine's kind of looking ovally. But if that happens, you can go back and dress up your mess up. I want to leave a white little circle in the middle. So you need to leave a white circle. And I'm going to go back and fill in some of these little baby spots that I did not get done. So we're leaving a white spot in the middle, and you'll see why here in a second. Notice, since I was drawing lightly with my pencil, that I don't have a dark ring around that circle. We don't want that. Okay. Once you have shaded your head and your thorax and our stripes, we're going to shade in our little donut. So you need your first finger, and we're actually going to rub out our pencil. Normally we don't do this, but this is an important step to shading. So what I'm going to do is use my finger. I'm going to rub it right over my eyeballs, right over my head. Then I'm going to rub my circle, my donut shape. And what you're going to notice when you do this is that your little donut shape in the center gets kind of shaded in, and that's what we want. Notice my finger's getting dirty. I'm going to use this pencil lead and keep going and shade down my body. I'm trying not to get it in the wings. If you do, that's your choice. Totally up to you. And I'm pressing kind of hard. I want this to rub together. I want my pencil to blend into my white spots. I want it all to blend together. I'm trying to keep it in my body, so I'm not trying to shade around my legs. If you do, it's okay. Okay, that's my goal. Now we've got this dirty finger. We'll use that later. Don't worry about it right now. We have a shaded bee. This is fantastic. Next, we're going to build the flower. What we're going to do around our flower, we're going to think about the shape of a flower. So you can see here, I just made a rounded shape, and notice it's going off the paper. That's okay. That just tells us that we have a nice large flower. I'm trying to keep my bee inside of my flower, so I want my circle larger than my flower. So my bee here is a little off center, so I think I'm going to make my circle. I'm going around him this way, and in order to make a kind of a rounded circle, I tilt my hand and turn my paper. Notice how I'm kind of rubbing back and forth. Tilt my hand, turn my paper. Tilt my hand, turn my paper. Now if yours comes back around and it doesn't line up, that's all right. Erase it and make it until you're happy with it. It's not a perfect circle. Okay, next, you're going to use your pencil. Make this line thicker. Notice my pencil's sitting here. We're trying to make a nice light circle going around our circle. I'm going to do this all the way around. Now, if this overlaps any part of your bee, that's okay. We can erase it out later. Our shadow from our flower would not really go into our bee. Might have some shading there, but this is part of the flower, so it's not going to be on the bee. So like I said, if it goes into the bee, let's pretend, boop, I can just use my eraser and very lightly erase it out. That's okay. Okay, next use your finger, blend this a little bit. I'm just gonna go right around the edges and I'm gonna rub this. I'm pressing them pretty hard. I'm not using the tip top of my finger. I'm using the pad of my finger. Just gonna rub it a little bit together. Okay, next we're gonna make the petals. It does not matter how many petals you make. You just want them to touch one next to each, like to the next one. So some of your petals are going to go off the edge of your paper. This petal is pretty much missing. This one's only showing a little bit. It depends how large your flower is, and that's okay. So how you make a petal, you want to start at your line. You're going to make a curved line up and a curved line in the opposite way. Now if you have tons of room where you're going to draw the entire petal, what it would look like, I've got a piece of paper here so I can show you. If you can see your whole petal, you're going to go up. You have a choice. You can make a pointy petal like this, or you could make a rounded petal. You could make a like a wiggly petal. It's your flower, your choice. If you can see the edge, you get to choose. But once you have one, I'm gonna turn my paper and curve as I go. I want my petals kind of going like straight across the table wherever I'm working at. And the next petal, it's not gonna touch directly at the edge, but it's gonna be close. It's gonna make another curve line, scoot over, curve line up. Now this one, let me think. It would go off the paper. I'm gonna turn my paper, curve line, curve line. See how they're not touching right on the inside there. Turn my paper, curve line, curve line. Now if you're making your petals skinny, you're going to need a lot more petals. If you're making your petals fat and wide, you're going to need less petals. That's a decision that you have to make. I am going to keep doing this, and if you're just watching me right now and not working, that's fine. I'm going to keep doing this until I run out of paper. Let's see. Oh, look at this petal, didn't even touch my neighbor petal. That's okay. Let's see. I'm going to keep going. Oh, now when I get close to the edge, I want to think about how many petals can I fit in here. Well, I think I could fit 2. I could maybe try to squish 3, but they might not match the rest. So I'm going to try to fit in what I think is going to fit as best it can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Flowers are not perfect. So this is pretty close, I think. My petals might be rounded. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So, gosh, in total I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 petals. You might have 20. You might have 6. You might have 15. It's totally up to you. Then we're going to shade our petals. So when we shade them, what we're going to do 2 steps. Step number 1, on the inside of each petal, our petals are kind of rounded. So what we're going to do, we're going to start at that line we already made. Now I'm going to use my finger as kind of like a guide, and I'm going to keep my pencil in the little nook of my hand there if you can. If not, no big deal. And I'm going to shade, and I'm going to put a little row at the bottom of my petal. When I get near the edges of my petal, I'm going to make them a little bit taller. So it touches the edge, it kind of comes down. It's almost like a letter U with your shading. I'm going to do this on all the petals. So this is a lot. So I'm going to give you some time to do this while I'm doing mine. And if your pencil gets dull on one side, flip it over where your lead is. Keep it in the little nook of your hand there. I'm using my finger as a guide. And notice I've got some empty white spots there. That's okay. I can go back and fill those in. Every petal, look, this one's going to be taller. They don't have to be the same. It's a flower. This is our first time trying to shade a project, shade a piece of artwork, make it seem realistic up close. And really in real life, flowers, bees, everything would not be perfect. So yours doesn't have to be perfect. What you should not be doing is actually scribbling and drawing with your pencil. We're trying to get shading happening instead of drawing. So I'm going to keep on going all the way around. Remember, each one you want it to be up the edge, kind of like a letter U. And remember, if this is hard for you, hey, this is exactly how we get better at things. We practice. So keep practicing. Keep trying this technique. You could use shading and making shadows on all of your artwork. And that would be pretty cool. You're about to learn something new that you can use forever. I'm going to keep on going. Scoot this way. Now, if you go down and into that circle we've got, like I just did, that's okay. I think in a second I'm probably going to make that line a little more darker, and I'll show you how to do that. So this kind of U-y shape, up we head, boop, boop, boop. Now, if you're not done with this step and I move on, remember, like I've always said, don't panic, you'll catch up. Because you might have more petals than I do. Or if you're already done waiting because you had less petals, that's cool too. All right, now, we're going to use our finger. We're going to go around and rub up and down on these petals to take our pencil up into our white part where there's nothing. So we're adding some shading going up. I'm going to do this on every petal, and I'm pressing hard using that same finger I was before. I'm going to show you a few bonuses. Now, if it gets into your in-betweener places, that's okay too. It doesn't have to go up to the very edge of the petal. That's okay. All right. I think I'm going to make this circle a little bit darker right around the edge. You can choose to do this or not. I just don't think it's standing out very well. I think I want mine a little bit darker. It's the best part about drawing. You get to make decisions about your artwork. Notice I'm turning my paper as I'm going. I think it's easier. Okay, now, we could be done. If you would like to stop here, that is fine. If you would like to add some more awesome stuff, I'm going to show you 2 tricks, which I think are super awesome to make your artwork look even better. Around the shading that we just did, I'm going to hold my pencil like I was, but super light this time. I'm going to make another layer. This is like, whoa, we've got 1, 2, 3 shades of pencil. Super cool. I'm pressing really, really light. Super, super light. So this is a super secret step to make your artwork look a little more fancy, which you guys are awesome at drawing, so I totally think you can do this step. Notice how quick it goes. I'm barely pressing. So it's just kind of wiggling my pencil back and forth. So it goes pretty quick. Remember, the whole point to drawing is to have fun and to practice. The more you practice, the better you get. Oh, I'm going off the paper here. That's okay. Notice I'm, though, continuing it right off the edge. That's because I don't want to mess up my little lines I've got going, so if I get some on the desk, I can erase it later. Normally I don't allow that, but notice I don't even have to fill them all in. You know, if I skip a few little spots, that's okay. It's still going to tell people that you're making some shadows. Off the paper on that one. Off the page on this one. Notice these rows of shadows also kind of match up with the shadows below. If one is going up and down, I'm not moving sideways. We want them to kind of match up. Some of them do kind of have that letter U-y kind of shape to them like before. All right, then I can use my fingers again and I can rub this layer. I can smooth and shade this layer into my other layers. So we're blending again, creating a third layer, pressing hard. I like to go up and down over my whole petal. These ones I'm going sideways. They're little guys. Okay, this one I'll try to go up and down. And this one I think I can go sideways there. Okay. So that's our super secret first step. And let me show you the second step. If you want something to be really bright, we've got all this like pencil shading going. Our papers are getting pretty dusty and messy looking. If you want something to be bright white again, by the way, you can rub all the way across like I'm doing. If you want something to be bright white again, you can use your eraser. Don't find a spot that's dirty. If I erase with this, I'm going to get dirt on my artwork. I have a choice. I could either flip this over and rub the dirty part off on the back of my paper. Okay. I rubbed it off, it's gone. Or I could just choose another corner of the eraser. By the way, you can share erasers with your neighbors. But if I want something super white, I can erase it back out. So like my wings, I might want white or that little circle. So I can just gently, don't press hard, super de-duper light, really, really light. And it pops back out. Now my wings, I'm not going to erase out this part where my stripes are. I think I'm just going to erase out this part right here. So, I mean, like I'm barely holding on to the eraser. Really, really light. I'm not going over my legs, just super light. And what I'm doing is going to make that wing stand out a little bit. This is kind of grayish, this is kind of whitish. You might be able to see that, you might not. Grays, white, gray. And the same thing over here, just in the little. Now this is a step you do not have to do. It is totally optional. If you're afraid you're going to erase something and you accidentally erase it, go back and redraw it. Dress up your mess up. No big deal at all. Like I almost erased part of my little wing there. I can go back and redraw that. So I'm going to brush that away there a little bit. Okay, and part of my wing kind of disappeared a little bit. So I'm just going to gently draw it back in. All right, this is how we draw a realistic, up close, beautiful honeybee and flower that we shaded. Hope you enjoyed.